There we go.
So you're about to discover the future of farming.
Yes.
You see this farm here?
Yep.
We had created those results in 16 days. That's a side-by-side with a control field and a Kiminasi field, which is the name of the technology, Kiminasi Plant Booster. And that is the difference we created in 16 days.
Mm-hmm.
Let me explain how. So the company is called Harvest Harmonics. The target of the presentation is to get you to start using the technology, increase production by 20 to 30%, improve crops, pest resistance, disease resistance over time, reduce chemical and fertilizer usage over time, increase the quality of crops, increase shelf life, improve the farmer's soil condition over time, improve his longevity and the value of his farm, and prove that we are the future of farming.
Mm-hmm.
Our mission is to help farmers around the world grow healthier, better quality crops at lower costs with higher yields without harming the environment.
Mm-hmm.
A complete dichotomy of what's happening right now. So let's talk about some common farming challenges. This is part of what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
Low prices, they're not getting enough money for their crops. Limited water availability at critical growing times. Predictable growing conditions, or unpredictable, should I say. Rising costs of fertilizers and other inputs, their expenses are going through the roof. Weed, pest, and pathogen control. You mentioned that there's a lot of bugs in Australia.
Yeah, but again, pests are an indication of balance.
That with our technology, it's definitely not an issue because everything we do is completely natural.
Yep.
So decreased soil fertility and erosion, that is a big problem. And then chemical contamination and runoff.
Yeah, the last two are the ones that are really from the ag companies. Yep.
Okay. So how do we handle these common challenges? With the Kiminasi plant booster.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? It's a coined word for a low radio wave frequency system. It manipulates in a very friendly, natural way the process of photosynthesis. And it's done through over 3,000 frequencies that are programmed into these microtransmitters. So if you want to understand more about the science, you should go to our website, harvestharmonics.com. And there's a video there on the science page. And my ag engineer does a great job of explaining the science.
Yeah, I think I watched that one.
Excellent. So we'll move on. What are we improving? Water and oxygen absorption, nitrogen absorption and use, nitric oxide absorption and use. 4, 5, and 6 I will explain on the next slide. Now, we designed the technology to wake up the dormant microbes in the soil. Mm-hmm. Most of the scientists think that we're a bunch of quacks, which is totally fine. They don't understand how we could possibly do that. And at the end of the day, they also don't understand how I get those results that you saw on the first slide. So what we've done is we've done CEC testing.
Which means?
Cation exchange capacity. Okay, and that's how they measure the amount of ions, okay, that are in the soil. And normally, it's very difficult to change the level of CEC in the soil.
Okay.
But we're doing a pretty good job of it. This is the policy that I implemented in my company. That I would give $1 million worth of technology, but I won't pay for any trials. I've seen too many products that the farmers have been bamboozled with, that have been tested and came out with flying colors, but the farmers aren't getting the results, and they're actually more damaging to the farm than beneficial. And I'm not saying that all the products are like that, of course, but I'm saying that I've seen products like that.
Why?
And, well, all I can tell you is that the companies that want those products sold are paying for all this testing, and I don't think that that's
not
an independent test.
Understand.
So are you familiar with the terms C3, C4, and CAM? They're just types of photosynthesis.
Okay.
So C3 is the most common on planet Earth. C4 is less common, but it's types of plants like wheat, plants that are more resistant to higher temperatures. So they don't need as much water. They don't evaporate as much water. They manage the sun, and they manage the water and humidity quite differently. And then a CAM is one of the most toughest plants in photosynthesis because these are the desert type plants. You have a lot of them, I'm sure, in Australia.
Yeah. Well, the biggest area, the reason I'm interested in this is the runoff factor, because that's the area that I mainly work on, is tying it into the ocean runoff, keeping the ocean healthy.
Absolutely.
And because you're a non-chemical, non-fertilizer based product, that's why I'm really keen on what it is you're doing.
Awesome. So the C3, without technology, the C3 plants are going to start acting like C4 plants. And the C4 plants are going to start acting like CAM plants. And so it's the reason why, again, that first picture now will make more sense, because a C4 plant rarely shuts down because of heat and lack of water. It will still remain productive. But a C3 plant, as soon as it gets too hot and there's not enough humidity, it will shut down to protect itself. And when it shuts down, it could shut down for hours or it could shut down for days, and it stops producing.
Yep, I got it.
Okay, so now you got a little bit more of the picture.
So can I just, to make sure I understand that last picture, your C3 plant, which is like a wheat, like in Australia, we've got people that have managed to get wheat growing in 250 mils of water a year, which is almost nothing, by soil development. So you're saying something like that would actually improve that up to even a C4.
Okay, so a C3 plant, let's say, is a tomato plant, right?
Okay.
And a tomato plant is going to have a very tough time growing in a dry, arid area.
Yeah.
Right. It needs water, right? It needs water. It needs regular water. It needs that moisture. And the sun, if there's too much sun,
it burns it.
It'll burn it. It'll damage it, and it could also stun it from growing.
Mm-hmm.
But not when it's using our technology, because when it's using our technology, it will start to mimic a C4 plant, meaning it won't need as much water, it will deal with the sun more comfortably, and it will not stun its growth. It won't stop growing. Okay. So it's something that is happening through this frequency therapy internally with the plant.
You're upscaling it.
That's a good way of looking at it.
You're giving the plant an upscale. It's an interesting way of looking at it. Okay.
Yeah. So now we'll talk about the types of installations.
Mm-hmm.
These are for smaller farms.
Yep.
And up to 3 or 4 inches, we would just ship a pipe pre-installed. This is a larger 12-inch pipe, but we've recently installed on a 24-inch pipe. So the size of the pipe and the amount of water flow is not a factor any longer. The reason why it took us so long to launch is we could not get our frequencies to penetrate water volume greater than 20 gallons per minute, which is not even a garden hose, right? But we've had 2 major breakthroughs in the last 2 years, and now we can penetrate up to 2,600 gallons per minute.
Wow.
So basically, there's not a farm in the world that we couldn't serve, as long as they irrigate.
So can I ask, these microchips that you've got here, these are embedded into the pipe itself?
Nope, they're actually attached to that pipe with tape.
They are? Just on the outside?
On the outside.
And they go through the metal and the water. So it's a wavelength going through. And they're electrically run? Or just, they're not? Okay. So
it's part of the science.
Okay, so I understand, because I do understand this technology from other things, other woo-woo or alternate things. They get drained though energetically, is that correct? And you have to keep reinvigorating them every year or so, is that right?
They have to be replaced every 2 years. You see these?
Yeah.
You see those microtransmitters?
Yeah.
Okay. These are 13 orders that are going to South America tomorrow.
Woohoo!
So a little history. The technology was initially in the beginning stages of development in 1999. I got involved in March 2014. I then had my first prototypes because the technology wasn't 100% complete. I got my first prototypes in October 2014. I then funded the company. I funded the inventor since then till now.
Good on you.
Yeah. And I became very passionate about saving the world and about changing agriculture, and I knew that this was going to do it. So I'm millions and millions of dollars deep at this point. So my partner now, up until November 2018, there was still 20 gallons a minute, but we were getting amazing results, but we couldn't, it wasn't a commercial product.
Yep.
In December, he invited me to Italy and took me to Switzerland for a cup of coffee, just so he can tell me that he had a major breakthrough and the product was finished and we were up to 2,600 gallons a minute. And then, of course, I did what any grown man would have done after investing millions and millions of dollars and waiting for the light to show. In the middle of this park called Lugano, Lake Lugano, I started crying like a baby. And by the time I was done with my first rounds of tests, he had made the technology 8 times stronger and had shipped me by October 2019 the amazing technology that generated the results that you saw on the first page. The older technology was on a farm in Washington State, and I wanted to do a statistical analysis. So I asked the farm to give me some statistics for the last 10 years. And so the red line on the bottom here represents the average production of that farm for the 8 years prior. And then 18 and 19 is represented by the installation of our technology. And he had an overall, in 24 months, 60.6% increase in production. 42.6 the first year, an additional 18 the second year.
Fantastic.
Yep. Again, this is a statistical, non-scientific analysis.
That's why you need the independent scientific analysis. I got it.
Right. The next page is going to be the scientific. So then what we did is we took technology 6, which is the more advanced and the last technology we developed. And in South America, we took 7 farms, all different products. We were measuring with a definitive time frame, which is 40 days. And we were comparing control versus Kiminasi, exactly the same plots, just control versus Kiminasi, same water, same soil, everything the same, except one had the Kiminasi technology and the other one didn't. And the 0 line here represents the average of the 7 farms combined of the control plots. And then we measured to see what was the average increase overall of the Kiminasi plots. And it turned out to be 27% in 40 days with these 7 farms, which is actually 14 farms. 7, 2 on each with an exact comparison. Mm-hmm. So that was more of our scientific trial. And then we were like, okay, we're off to the races. So we've been selling ever since. What have we proven?
How many farms are you in now? Have you got them installed in? Around
19 in India, 80 or so in the United States, and probably about 80 or so. Well, I got these 13 going out. Probably 80 or 90 in South America. And then in Central America, about 5, 6.
So for a small farmer, because I'm really interested in a small family farmer, what is the minimum cost for them to just do a startup for them? If they're doing, say, a couple of acres.
Right. So if they're doing a couple of acres, that's our minimum purchase.
Yep.
And it's $350 an acre. So it'd be $700.
USA, yeah?
USA.
Plus postage.
We're in Indonesia, Myanmar, Vietnam, Malaysia. Yeah, we have a Southeast Asia office. We're doing our first installations there, I think in the next couple of weeks. What basically happened was the oil and gas industry took a major hit, and some executives and scientists from the oil and gas industry heard about our technology, and because they have a lot of relationships with farmers, they decided to start shifting gears and getting out of oil and gas and going into working with us. So they have relationships with fairly large farmers, and so it's easy for them to shift. So this was one of my first case studies, and this was a comparison control versus Kiminasi, and this is when it was only 12 gallons a minute. It was 2015 in Panama, and we had a 70% yield increase, 20 to 30% larger peppers, but they were thicker, and they had an extra 10 to 15 day shelf life.
Okay, tell me what's their nutrient sugar level difference? That's the really interesting one.
I'll tell you what. There's a video there where we did a bricks test on I think it was a pepper, right? And we got a bricks level of a 10.
Wow.
And the farmer was blown away. because he's an organic farmer. There's no chemicals. He doesn't put any. You know what he does? He does a foiler spray, like an organic foiler spray.
Yeah.
That's the only thing he did. And the only other stuff that he uses for his farm now is our technology.
Right.
So he had a bricks to 10.
Well, it does depend on the thing you're brixing. Like some things have got higher natural brixes than others per the species itself. So
absolutely,
it's relevant to the thing that he's doing. So that's great.
Yeah, I think
density. And I've got a very exciting startup coming out on board that will be able to do it from an app in the phone. So they've just got $1 million funding, and they're about to go out. And I said I will help them with the farms, testing against, showing how biodynamic has a higher nutrient density and chemical lack of chemicals, which this will test against conventional readings. Because anyway, this is the area that I think needed to happen, is something for the consumer from a phone app. So they're really close to coming out in another couple of months now.
So on the website, you could see this. This was a complete accident, but a side by side. We were doing a test in our office. We had a hurricane come through. We had to evacuate.
Yeah.
Came back 5 days later when the power went on. We had 2 planters that were doing an internal study. One of them was completely bug infested. The other one, right next to it, attached to it, did not have any bugs. The one that had no bugs was the one with the Kiminasi.
Wow.
So that is a video that you have to watch on our website.
Okay.
This was February 2020.
All those live links are on the website, aren't they?
Yep.
Okay.
This was February 2020. This was control versus Kiminasi, scientific study. The farmer did not want to do a nutrient test. We forced him to do it. So he finally did it and wind up getting the results: 14% more nitrogen, 10% more phosphorus, 47% more iron, and 20% more boron. The taste was much better. He wind up selling his grapes for 56 cents a kilo more, and he wind up making $11,316 more on this particular hectare.
Per hectare?
Yeah, per hectare, more.
That's great.
Than his regular hectare. And he only had a 7% increase in yield. What happened was he sold it for more money because it was better quality.
It's great.
Yeah. Moving on. 30% yield increase, 4 to 5 points bricks increase. All these videos again on our website. This is my farmer that did the 2-year study that I showed you. That was a production study, not analysis, not scientific. Okay. His farm was so beautiful that I took a whole video crew up there and I spent 3 days with him. I was in Italy last Christmas, and the technology was already decided on in, as I said, October 2019. But there was about 40 of these planters on the roof where we were doing some studies. Not me, but my partner. Well, the winter was coming. The studies, the trials were done. We left all the pots on the roof. Nobody watered them anymore. Nobody gave them any more Kiminasi. We just left them alone. Winter came, they all died. We were not expecting them to come back to life. March of this year, they grew back. All of them.
Wow.
Technology version 4, version 5, and version 6.
Well, that's a great photo.
Yeah, the only one that didn't grow back was the control. While I was there, that same Christmas, 2019, we ordered 144 roses from Ecuador. They traveled in a box, 7 days. They arrived. We separated them all into different vases, and then my partner ran trials on them. I went back to America, and the end result was he got the roses to live in the vases for at least 30 days.
Wow.
That was cool with the Kiminasi water, but that's not what was impressive to me. What was impressive to me is
the regrowth.
Look at the regrowth. All right, moving on. This is the CEC analysis. So before the trial started, this was a control versus Kiminasi. It was an 8-week study on tomatoes, and before it started, they did a soil test. The CEC measured 18.3. After 8 weeks, they did another soil test. The CEC on the control went down to 13.3. The Kiminasi soil went up 21.9.
Wow.
The difference is 8.6. I cannot find a scientist that understands how we did that. Nor do I, even though I show them this, they don't believe it. It's like, it doesn't make logical sense to them. And I said, well, my technology doesn't make logical sense. So this is Johannesburg, South Africa. The picture speaks for itself, and the yield increase is right there. It's about average, 25 to 30%. You can see the difference. It's pretty evident.
Mm-hmm.
Let's move on to the next one. This, you only see a difference in the color. This is in Mexico. I did these installations myself. This is for a cow farmer, milk farmer.
Yeah.
This is a group of cooperative farms that support and work with the second largest milk provider in all of Mexico. So you can see the difference in the color. The Kiminasi is a lot greener, like a deeper green.
You know, I'm used to this between organic and conventional anyway, because the...
I'm going to get used to saying that. So these are very large farms, 250 hectares, 400 hectares.
And they're irrigated.
And they're irrigated, yeah, with pivots, very large irrigation systems.
Hmm.
Nice guys. Both owners are scientific farmers. They're ag engineers and agronomists. Very educated, very, very educated. You know, they look like something out of a movie, you know, but they're super educated.
Yeah.
So basically, you know, we just got, strangest thing, the laboratories finally opened up in Mexico, and we just got back the lab results. But he only sent us one half. He only sent us the Kiminasi. I need to see the control.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
And so we just sent them an email because we just got it, like it was yesterday. So he sent them back an email saying, what happened to the control? Like, you know, what good is one half of the study? These are another pictures in a couple of parks in Peru. That was also earlier this year. Again, you can see the difference in the pictures. You know, if you look at the trees or the bushes all the way in the back, you can see the brightness of them, you know? Hmm. So this was in Peru also. Now this is a very large farm, 4,500 hectares. You're talking about 13,000 acres. This was the result in 26 days. All this information, by the way, comes from the farmers, ag engineers. None of this is ours. They basically report back to us from their ag engineers, and then we just translate it into English because it was in Spanish. They would do 2 or 3 hectares with our technology, and they would do the regular 50, 60, 80, 100 hectares. Now they're doing all kinds of scientific testing. But the first time it's like, yeah, whatever. It's okay, I'm so used to it. But I have a cocky eye. This was up in Peru also. 85% yield increase. These are a different type of pepper. Their control has an average of 16 peppers per plant. Ours has 30. This was a plum farmer in California. He was in bad shape. Like, I was talking to him and he was like, I don't know if I'm going to make it this year. My plums are so small. I don't think they're going to size up. I only have another 3 weeks to the season, 4 weeks maybe. So I convinced him. I said, look, just buy the technology. You'll be happy you did it. So I convinced him. He bought it. He installed it. Within 2 weeks, his plums completely sized up. They were gorgeous. He sent me a case. He only put 3 applications, everything sized up, and he had an increase from last year of 5 points in bricks.
Right.
So, moving on. This field in Peru, as of June, they're expecting a 58% yield increase. That's what they measured so far. This farmer has already placed a $45,000 order with us. Another very large organization, that's their asparagus measurement, day-by-day pickings from May to June. 49% increase in asparagus.
Amazing.
Now, these are cherry trees that they've been trying for 3 years to grow in Peru. This company has 17,500 hectares. They have like 600 hectares of sticks. They're supposed to be cherry trees, but they're sticks. They won't grow. They can't get these things to grow. They've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to get these things to grow with all kinds of fertilizers and manures and chemicals, and nothing's working.
So bare. The soil is so bare. They've got no green cover anywhere. From a carbon point of view, that's just devastating to look at all that lack of green.
I completely agree. But this is what wound up happening. They got a 50% more root stock, and then they dug up the ground. They saw the trees when our technology started to grow. They dug up the ground. They saw 50% more rootstock in that crappy soil. That's what the sticks look like when they started. That's what they look like after 30 days. Comparison. Testigo means control.
Yeah.
This is what the trees look like after 4 months. Now, my technology grew a tree. There, whatever they were doing, grew a disheveled stick.
But they look like they're about the same height, just a lot less foliage. Is that correct?
Well, they're the same height, but the foliage, our tree, that's the first time they ever grew a tree in 3 years using my technology.
But how are they growing with their test plant? If they've grown nothing in 3 years, how is that growing at all?
Well, because that test plant is not going to fruit anything. It can barely stay alive.
Right. Okay.
You follow?
Yeah, no, I'm just wondering if they hadn't grown anything in 3 years, why it grew that year.
I think what's happening is it's doing something, and then when the winter comes,
it dies.
It dies down again.
It doesn't have the strength to survive the winter. I get it.
Exactly. And then they look like these disheveled sticks again. I mean, these are just sticks.
I see what you're saying. I get you saying. They're making some growth, but not enough to survive anything or produce a crop. I get it.
Exactly.
So they need to have this one, your crop booster one, post-winter to show fruit and all those things, which is another 6 months away probably. The humanitarian fund.
Yeah. We're very much a humanitarian company because I'm not motivated by money. I am motivated by helping farmers. I am motivated by revolutionizing the industry. I am motivated by getting rid of all the corruption in this industry, but I'm not motivated by money. So if you know anything about business, and I'm sure you do, 10% of your sales is equivalent to about 30% of your profit.
Mm-hmm.
Here, we're taking 10% of our sales and reinvesting it back into humanitarian campaigns in the country where we earn the money. So the money goes back to Australia. It goes to educational programs. It'll go towards anti-drug programs. I'm a big anti-drug fan.
South America, 11 countries, Asia Pacific, 7 countries, India. And another one, Harvest Harmonics.
No, that's just where we are all over the world. Since you're recording,
yes.
I will show you this last slide.